Two flights carrying Europeans will leave South Africa this evening after the German government secured permission to repatriate their citizens out of the country. At least 5,000 German tourists are still in South Africa. The flights, which will be operated by SAA, will depart from Johannesburg and Cape Town. And for more on this, we're now joined via Skype by Germany's ambassador to South Africa, Martin Schaefer. Thanks so much indeed for joining us on the program, Ambassador. I'm sure that there are a number of relieved German citizens that will be going home finally.
Well, they have come to South Africa to have a great time here with animals and with the friendly people, and their trip ends at a school. In a German school, which is the assembly point. I think they didn't expect that. But from what I see, we have about 250 people here already. Everything is being done very orderly, and people got here easily. I think we are well on track to get those people home safely and securely.
How many are you expecting to repatriate in total?
Well, we have a plan for the next 2 weeks that we're rolling out together with South African Airways and together with the South African government, around about 20 flights. And on each flight, around about 300 or so Germans and EU citizens. So you come up to a number that is close to 6,000. And we do hope that then everybody who wants to return and everybody who can return will have done so, say, at the end of that period, the lockdown in South Africa. And of course, we don't know whether President Ramaphosa and the National Command Council will prolong the lockdown beyond the 16th of April.
All right, let's talk about what you said, those that can travel. Are there preconditions that they must test negative for COVID-19 before they leave?
No, this is well, yes, of course. This is not a medical emergency. This is a human emergency. We want to repatriate our people because in times of crisis, I think it is better to be home. And that's what those people want. And I'm glad that the South African government allows us to do this. And I'm happy that South African Airways is able to do this. Now, we are going to do some screening, not we, but the South African authorities. I think it will be more or less a temperature test. Because, you know, even if you have been tested negative, what does that mean? 5 minutes later, you can be affected again. So I don't think anybody will ask of a negative corona test, but we will look very carefully for any symptoms, and we will test the temperature of our passengers. And if there's someone who has symptoms or has fever, he will have to stay here and seek treatment in South Africa.
And what will happen to those that actually land in Germany? Will they be quarantined, or they'll be going home to self-isolation for a while?
As far as I understand that, the health authorities of the federal state of Bavaria, for those that go to Munich, and of the federal state of Hessen, for those who go to Frankfurt, will welcome those people, will screen them too, and then will decide how further to proceed. South Africa is not a high-risk country from a German perspective, so it will be up to the authorities to decide. They can either let them go, or they will hand them a piece of paper in which obliges them to stay for 14 days in self-isolation. If there's people that land who have been on the flight, I don't think that will happen, and then have symptoms, they will have to quarantine themselves, or will be put in a place where they quarantine themselves. And we hope that all our European friends that are on board on this flight and all the other flights will find ways and means from Frankfurt and Munich to proceed with their trips, to go to Sweden, to go to Denmark, to go to Portugal, or to go to Lithuania or any other of the member states of the European Union.
Are you satisfied that you've been able to reach all of your citizens that perhaps are wanting to return home?
Well, social media are very useful in this, and I think we will have reached most of the people. You know, if someone in this world coming from Germany, being in South Africa on holidays, hasn't noticed what has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, then I think at the end of the day we have to resign and tell ourselves, well, there's nothing we could do, but he must be in a remote place where the virus will never arrive.
All right, so these flights, you say about 20 flights planned, and so once the last one is gone, is that it for the time being?
Well, we don't know what is going to happen. As we speak, we have a situation in which indeed the spread of the virus in my country and in the European Union is a lot further ahead than in South Africa. We have seen surprising and very welcome numbers in South Africa on the number of infections. The last 5 days have seen a rise of not more than 15% of the numbers here in South Africa. So I think there's reason to hope that South Africa, with the very drastic and very early measures that you have taken, will be a lot more ahead of the curve than we are. And let's see how things develop. My feeling is that your president, the National Command Council, the Minister of Health, you have things very much under control, and I think you are doing a great job in protecting South Africans and our Germans and other foreigners too. And I can only commend the cooperation that we have had with South African Airways. I can only commend and praise the cooperation we have had and continue to have with DIRCO and the Department of Transport and the South African government. They are doing everything so that we can have our people go home. And we are going to make sure, and I promise this publicly, that there will be no additional risk of infection for any South African on this operation.
All right. Hearing what you're saying, I'm reminded about what the International Relations and Cooperation Minister, Naledi Pandor, said, that this was a coordinated effort between countries. And it may be that there are South Africans in Germany who want to stay there. Is your country going to assist in terms of perhaps extending visas and things like that?
Well, we have a choice to make. This is a choice about whether you want to be egoistic, you want to be nationalistic, you want to do this on your own, or you engage in international solidarity. We, and I think South Africa also, we have taken the latter choice. So we are in this together, and we have already had a lot of engagement on, helping you getting test kits, helping you getting hospital equipment. That all has been done. And now, of course, those flights of South African Airways go to Frankfurt and they go to Munich, and they return empty. So that means that South African Airways both has the opportunity to fill their planes on the way back with passengers, with South Africans who are allowed to come back into their country, but also take freight on board, air freight that is useful in your fight against the spread of the virus. And we have had a very engaging and committed partnership with South African Airways. We have given them, in principle, a free hand to do exactly that. But on your concrete question on whether or not on those flights tonight on the way back there will be South Africans, I think you should direct that question to DIRCO, to Minister Pandor and her team, and I think they will give you the answer. We have the planes. If South Africans want to board them, it is absolutely possible, and we'd be happy to help.
All right, Your Excellency, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us and giving us an update on this project. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, and press your cross fingers that everything works out well. Thank you very much for your time.
Dankeschön. All right, so that was the German ambassador to South Africa, Martin Schaefer, as they begin the process of repatriating German citizens as well as other Europeans. They'll be landing in Munich and Frankfurt. We believe they're flying out of Johannesburg as well as Cape Town. And from that conversation, it seems as if 20 charter flights have been arranged with SAA to take their citizens back home, and it could be as many as around 5,000 to 6,000 that might finally be on those planes in the next couple of weeks or so.